Teachers of Reddit, what's your most NSFW story from your workplace? Had a kid in 2nd grade caught fingering a 2nd grade girl in the phys ed locker room after school. Apparently they were both from abusive families and they were victims of sexual abuse by their dads. Not the same dad obviously. That's the ducked up part. Both their dads were sexual abusing those kids and they coped by trying sexual stuff on each other at the age of 8. Some kids found the typing programming teacher on Grindr. Catfished him. He sent multiple big dick pics that he took on campus to the kids. Police had to get involved. Had a student run up to me and say that someone had been stabbed in the girls' room. Turns out that a 5th grader had started their period. She later got the talk when she got home. I walked out of class during a prep period to go upstairs to talk with another teacher. In the stairwell there was a female student blowing a male student. The worst thing was she didn't stop even after I yelled. Many things have happened at my school, but this is the only one I have personally witnessed. I will take this a different direction. My first week of teaching had its ups and downs. I was teaching a pay class and had a new kindergarten class for the first time. A few minutes into class, a little 5-year-old boy raises his hand. Emma. Counterpart. I have a problem. My PP is really hard right now and I don't know what to do. Holding in every ounce of laughter I had, I told him I was sorry and that we would talk about his problem in a few minutes. Not long after he raises his hand again. Yes. Caleb. Don't worry. It's not a problem anymore. He tells me with the biggest smile on his face. Gotta love teaching elementary. Not me but the woman who taught across the hall from me. She was teaching a 9th grade math class and her classroom had those old fashioned pencil sharpeners that attach to the wall and you turn the lever to sharpen your pencil. One of her students was sharpening her pencil every day during class and seemed to take a long time to do so because each time she would stand at the back of class sharpening her pencil for 2 minutes or so. After a week or so of this the teacher went to ask if the student needed help sharpening her pencil. Turns out the girl was putting her vaginal up against the pencil sharpener and was using the vibrations to get off in the middle of math class. My student taught in a rough high school. A girl got suspended because she snuck into the auditorium and literally had a line of kids getting BJS from her and paying her, then heading back to class. Edit. Remembered another one from the same school. There was a girl who was in a wheelchair and I asked my teacher I worked with what happened. She told me that the girl had a boyfriend the year before and then cheated on him. And the boyfriend shot her in the leg and now she can't walk ever again. Edit again. I may be wrong about her being shot in the leg. It may have been her back, which would make way more sense lol. It was 5 years ago, sorry. Teacher here. Only the other day I had a student come and get me in the playground by holding my hand. They took me briskly to the bathroom and bent over and held onto their ankles. They said nothing but grunted a little. I knew what they wanted. They wanted me to wipe their bum because there was poo smeared everywhere. Duck my life. This girl took pictures of her dog eating peanut butter off of her vag and then sent it to her boyfriend. He proceeded to share it with the whole school and then the teachers found out. I've told this story several times, but here goes. I was an occasional substitute teacher in the town where I went to college. The band director often requested me to come teach if she was out sick. Since I was a music major and could work with the kids on their parts, get in for a day. And my instructions were to break the kids up by section and have them practice their parts. I spent the next hour listening to a miasma of sounds from woodwinds, brass, strings, etc. but no drumming. If you don't know any drummers, they are always playing or banging on their laps, tables, steering wheels, etc. Curious me goes to investigate the drum room. And I walked in on the token female drummer flashing her breasts to the boys in exchange for money. I was a teacher 2010 to 2015. He was 19 or 20. He was always being a jerk to this one senior at the school. So my coworker decided to keep his mouth shut. Finding. Edit. It's depressing how many people read this and ask if I taught at their high school. This incident was almost 30 years ago in the US Northeast. Was volunteering in a kindergarten classroom. Was going through some old papers and found a letter from one of the mothers to the teachers explaining a bathroom incident. It went something like this. Kinshiro was in the bathroom stall peeing in the toilet when another student climbed under the stall. Kinshiro got very nervous at the sight of the boy and lost control of his pee. He peed on the student's face because he was very scared. Please do not punish Kinshiro. Got asked what a tidwang was from a tiny nerdy 11-year-old boy whilst trying to teach him about safety on the internet. I told him it wasn't part of the syllabus and that it wasn't suitable to ask me. Home ec teacher asked a pregnant girl if she could get the placenta from her to eat. And that's about it, I think. My teachers weren't too wild by any means, I just don't wanna let this thread sink too far. Lol, not gonna believe this after this kinda blew up on me. I only just now remembered that the teacher that taught the problem kids, or slower kids, stole pornography from one of them and apparently just had a bunch in his desk that I'd hear about every so often. That's more in line with the post. Sorry. Tacked it on here though, don't wanna post again for this. Not sure if this counts since I was just a volunteer teacher for the kindergarten section for Sunday school. This 5-year-old dropped his pants, took off his sheety diaper and gave it to me. I didn't realize it's possible for a 5-year-old to still not be potty trained. Many years ago, when I first started teaching at a theater school, I came into work hungover. It was not my intention to drink as much as I did the night before. Nor did I think any repercussions from said drinking would last to my first class the following day. But that's the situation I found myself in when soldiering forth into work. I thought the hangover would eventually subside. But it stayed strong with me through the whole workday. I managed to function normally, without anyone being the wiser. Until it came down to my last duty of the day. We were auditioning students for a show. The nerves were high amongst the students while I was using every fiber of my being to keep it together. It was probably the 5th or 6th student in the rotation that froze on stage. Walked up to me from the stage area and said they were not feeling well. I smiled and tried to calm the student down. But as I was explaining that everything was going to be okay, the student puked all over me. That's when my resolve went out the window and I puked all over the student. This triggered a few other students to vomit as well. Luckily, I wasn't the only teacher in the room, and I was able to excuse myself to get towels for the mess. I successfully played the whole thing off as a sensitive stomach and was kindly offered the rest of the day off. But that was the last time I did any drinking the night before a class. Edit. Feel like I should clear a few things up. 1. The drinking in question was a much higher proof beer than I thought I was having. And I was drinking straight from a growler jug. 2. The smell was mainly stomach acid with a hint of the ginger ale I was drinking to calm my stomach. 3. Of all the scenes the comments below are referencing, the Family Guy hypercaxine is the closest resemblance. I'll repost my story from a different thread. Not actually NSFW, but potentially so. I just started teaching 9th and 10th grade English. 14 years old and Ria had a total crush on me. From day one. She learned that I love, read, and write poetry. And she'd show me some of her stuff, which was actually quite good. She'd come to my room during lunch, during my planning period, and show me more and more. Being super uptight about being alone, a female student. We'd go into the hallway or library. Her poems started getting more and more erotic. However, and eventually I had to tell her that, while the writing is very creative, the content is not at all appropriate to be showing your teacher. She eventually began to tone it down and started writing spiritual poetry that I can only describe as love poems to God. Think Rumi. But the one she had me read that was obviously about me and her in a wooded cabin, loving in every way possible, with the most uncomfortable experience in the world. To colleagues of mine, Frank and Sophie, were having an affair while both being married. They got caught in the shower at a weekend school trip where students and teachers spent the night at a facility. Cue the affair being out in the open. Frank is now sick at home trying to make amends with his wife who's depressed and mentioned suicide more than once. Sophie, who was a representative for the Christian Values Party here BTW, got the boot from her husband and now has a thing, I kid you not, with Frank's best friend. Best part is, all the while another colleague and one of my good friends, Bert, found out his wife, Leanne, was having an affair. Bert and Leanne are now separated as well. I tried to be as supportive as possible until the day Claire, another colleague, told me that while Bert was married to Leanne, he was also hooking up regularly with yet another colleague of mine, Zoe, Claire's best friend. I actually forgot about the fact that Claire broke off her marriage with her husband Pete to be with an ex-colleague of mine, Robert, who was dating another current colleague at another campus, Lois. Pete and Lois even managed to hook up for a while after that whole debacle, so yeah. Go figure. You know that saying about truth being stranger than fiction? Well yeah. Our school's a mess right now. Basically I'm just happy to eat the popcorn and not be the movie. Edit, added some fake names for clarity and yet another twist I forgot about. I have two. The more mild one goes like this. We were teaching a little pseudo class on geology and asked our older kids the name of the supercontinent before it split into 7 continents. Nobody answered, so we were trying to coax them with it starts with a P. And a little 7-year-old just bellows out PENIS. Lesson over. The worst one was in the 3-year-old's class. One little boy whipped his big dig out and started shouting I have an erection at anyone who cared to look. We had to chase him. He was fast for a toddler. Edit, the little boy had a massive fro just like you know who. Just thought I'd put that out there. In high school, we had a beloved teacher and I am still friends with him to this day. However, he viewed taking attendance as a big waste of time, and his class was enjoyable, so kids rarely skipped it. So he'd just give the class a once-over and try to notice if anyone was missing. And sometimes kids would yell out that a kid was sick. Well, on this particular day, he marked everyone as present, including a kid that was not in class, as he was busy murdering his uncle. So the teacher had to go to court and say on the record that no, he is not providing an alibi for the student. He's just terrible at attendance. The administration really got on his ass about attendance after that, and he was good about it for a few years. And then he went back to his old ways, saying it's very unlikely I'll have another med ed during my class. Edit, RIP my inbox. I actually was a teacher. Middle school. 6th to 8th grade. Caught 2 students having sex. 7th grade. Parents were called in. Parents of the boy yell at him. Ground him. Do the parental thing. Girl's parents go on about how their precious little snowflake wouldn't do such a thing. She was a good Christian girl. Baby born 9 months later. 8th grader whips it out in class and goes to town. Bonus, principal's son. Nothing happened to him. He kept doing it in various classes and moves on to high school. Tries to do it in high school. Expelled from the school because daddy couldn't pull strings for him. The teacher for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes got caught having an affair with a fellow teacher by a student. They were going at it in his classroom. Both of them were the holier than thou types. Hilariously, they still tried to pull the old Jesus forgives us of our sins and you're going to hell if you mention it again. They were fired. Kid got caught jacking off into the chili by the head lunch lady. School had to spend literally thousands of dollars to call in a massive pizza order because there was not enough time to make another lunch. Kid high AF on meth. Really shitty home life. He was expelled and put into one of those alternative schools. Really ticked off to this day that he wasn't actually given any help, just passed off to someone else. I still think about him to this day and hope he's okay. Then there is the usual, smoking weed out in the bathroom. BJS in the band room. Kids cursing out teachers. Asshole parents. Kids beating the holy hell out of each other. etc. I don't teach anymore. My mother taught elementary school for 35 years. Second grader told his teacher he was going to shoot her. Teacher blows it off. Next morning my mom waits for the kid to get off the bus. Follows him to class and grabs his backpack when he put it up. Yep. Loaded revolver. No news. Nothing. Cops came. But the principal kept it relatively quiet. This was Houston. Mid to late 80s. Wife has been teaching about 15 years. 8th grader in foster care sat in the front left desk. Draped his jacket on his right side. Proceeded to whip his junk out and go to Cranktown during class. Wife noticed. Called for help without the rest of the class even knowing. Kid didn't get the satisfaction of her looking scared etc. Hopefully the kid got help. Brother taught at a last chance high school while he was coaching football at another high school. 17-year-old girl walks up after class and calmly says, "Coach, I wanna suck your big dick." Brother was mid-20s at the time. Said half a second flashed by then. No. Come with me. Walked her down to the office, sure he's about to get arrested because she will twist the story around. Thankfully she didn't. Brother quit soon after. Not worth the risk for a young guy.